All right, Colts Nation, what is going on? We are back for the first time in what feels like a little while. I mean, it's probably been, I don't know, about a week at this point. I haven't kept track of the exact amount of days it's been, but hopefully it didn't result in too many sleepless nights for you. I mean, after all, I know how important it is for you to get a look at this beautiful mug every once in a while with the absolutely full beard that I have going on. Of course, no deficiencies on the facial hair side of things over here. And of course, this wonderful voice made for radio, made to talk about the Colts, created for nothing else but to speak about these wonderful, wonderful Indianapolis Colts. And for those of you that care about why I was gone, I'll provide a brief explanation, okay? I had a very close friend of mine who moved out of state, came back to visit, and I just figured, given the time of the year, sure, a couple things happened, but ultimately we're kind of just sitting here waiting for the draft. I ultimately chose to prioritize the time with that very close friend over recording an episode, and I'm just going to talk about the things that I could have spoken about a few days ago. I'll just speak about them today. You know, when a friend leaves the state or moves away, and many of you guys have probably experienced this before, you very, very quickly realize that what you thought was an endless amount of times that you're going to see this person that matters a lot to you, you realize there's a finite amount of times that you see these people, and it's just, you don't take those types of things for granted. But with all of that said, this is not the Riding the Bench Life Lessons podcast, huh? This is the Riding the Bench Colts podcast, so enough of the sappy shit, enough of all that stuff. Just because I didn't record for a week does not mean I did not pay attention to what was going on with the team, and we do have some stuff to talk about. The Indianapolis Colts made their first move at tight end, keeping Mo Alie-Cox, a $2.2 million contract for him. More power to him. Matt Gay was cut, or as we called him over here on the channel, Matt left, particularly when he was hooking kicks all the way into the third row of the 20-yard line, right? I mean, it was that bad at times, and sometimes we'd call him Matt Straight as well when he seemed to kind of kick that thing down the middle as the season went on. But Gay, straight, left, right, doesn't really matter anymore because he's no longer an Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts now have seemingly their heir apparent, which is Spencer Strader, who was a member of the team before ultimately getting let go of because Matt Gay was the guy. But now we've kind of flipped the script, and Spencer Strader seems to be the kicker for the Indianapolis Colts going into this season. Additionally, the NFL draft coming up very, very quickly, I believe a week from today, if I'm not mistaken, April 24th, first round of the NFL draft. The Colts, of course, with the number 14 overall pick. We're going to talk about that. What does it mean for the next week of action for the Indianapolis Colts? Have my thoughts changed on what they should be doing with that 14th overall pick? We're going to talk about all of that. But before we do, you know what it is? My name is Justin. This right here is the Riding the Bench Colts podcast. As always, ask anyone watching and enjoying the show, go ahead, shoot a like. It's going to help me get out to as many Colts fans as humanly possible. Of course, subscribe if you want to be a part of the journey. We're on our way to 4,000 subscribers over here on the YouTube channel. We want to get there by the start of next season. We're not all that close, but if you keep coming back and enjoying the content, and if not yet, hit that subscribe button. Maybe today's the day. You'll never miss another episode again. Of course, if it's your first time here, you don't have to wait either. Perhaps you're enjoying what it is that you're hearing. Hit that subscribe button. Help us reach that goal. But if not, no big deal. I'm going to be sitting here behind this screen with this microphone. I mean, maybe the equipment will change at some point, but the point remains, for a very, very, very long time, I'm going to be in this chair like, remember when we had Anthony Richardson? Like, it's going to be one of those. I mean, and only the Colts, nothing but the Colts. We ain't talking about Hoosiers, no disrespect. We ain't talking about Pacers, none of that shit. So if you're a Colts fan and only a Colts fan, this right here is the absolute greatest place on planet Earth for you to be. So welcome. Of course, if you're going to engage in the comment section, be civil with one another. You don't know what the person on the other side of the keyboard is going through. We want this to be a place where the discussion gets pushed further and not degraded into nonsense. So if you're here to insult people or shit on people or troll, whatever it is that you do, there's plenty of other pages that will be just fine with you partaking in that type of activity. But here is not the one. So without further ado, let's get back into the regularly scheduled program. We'll take this in order of least interesting to most interesting, meaning least interesting first would naturally be Mo Alie-Cox. And when it comes to Mo Alie-Cox and this show, number one, let's just be clear, I have not spoken about him very much, but when I have, I've never had a good thing to say about Mo Alie-Cox. Like, every time his name is coming out of my mouth, some sort of insult, or insult may be strong, but we'll go with it. Some sort of insult is following it. And it's not because Mo Alie-Cox stinks at the game of football. He's a viable option at tight end and will be of use this year for sure for the team. It was always about what the Colts were paying him, right? It's all about the contract, okay? Is Matt Gay the worst kicker on planet Earth? Not that I want to go too off topic here because we'll talk about Matt Gay after. No, but at his contract, do you like Matt Gay? Absolutely not. That's why he's not on the team. But back to Mo Alie-Cox. Stay on track, Justin. What are we doing here? $2.2 million is an okay price for Mo Alie-Cox. He's a guy that could do a little bit of everything, right? He can block, he can catch. He's a viable threat in the red zone. Quite frankly, even if he's not a game changer, you're not exactly at a disadvantage when Mo Alie-Cox is out there at tight end. He does a little bit of everything you would need from that position. Current room for the Indianapolis Colts right now, after bringing him back, are, of course, Mo Alie-Cox, Drew Ogletree, Jelani Woods, Will Mallory. Even if we draft a tight end early, it's a position that is notoriously tough to contribute at early in a career. And of the current options that we have, Mo Alie-Cox, probably the most reliable. And I think he might play quite a bit this year. And while I don't think that's something that Colts fans should be particularly excited about, I wouldn't exactly say it's something we should be particularly angry about either. I mean, after all, we've gone all these damn years, right? What's another one at this point? On to the next. Matt Gay. This is a move right here. I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it at this current moment. Like, on one hand, you do look and say, okay, if a guy's not performing up to his contract, you let him go. Nobody's mad with that as a philosophy. We'd prefer you not to overpay people who aren't contributing to what their contract demands they would contribute. A guy with the talent and the power in his leg that Matt Gay has, if you're him, you have to knock down the 50-yard kicks. I mean, ultimately, that's why the Indianapolis Colts have you. If you're not able to do that, you're basically as useful as any other average kicker out there that's getting paid 1, 2, 3 million, whatever a kicker gets paid. Certainly not 8+ million like he was getting paid, okay? With that said, it's not that I feel it was a bad signing at the time, right? The story is going to get rewritten that Matt Gay was a bad signing for the Indianapolis Colts, but hindsight is always 2020. And if at the time you were looking and saying Matt Gay was a decent signing, the general rule of thumb I like to go by is you can't now come back around on the other end and make it like you never held that opinion. Understand Matt Gay, when the Colts signed him, had been tremendous from 50 plus his entire career. This was a guy coming off of back-to-back 90+% seasons in terms of he was making 90+% of his kicks for the Los Angeles Rams before the Colts ultimately signed him. And now, once we had him 2 straight years in the low 80s, is 2 seasons enough to conclude that this isn't your guy at kicker? I mean, I guess so, because the Colts just made that decision. And what has me conflicted is I'll never forget. If you remember, if you were watching football at the time, for those of you who have been around, I guess, a little while, some of you are going to listen to this and be like, that was very recently, because I know some of you guys have been fans since the 60s, 70s, 80s. But a guy by the name of Mason Crosby, who's really kind of one of the better kickers of the 2000s, the 2010s, and call it the 2010s, okay, made a lot of big kicks for the Green Bay Packers, went through a slump after being an established kicker with that team. And the conversation around him was, they got to let him go. He's washed up. And listen, the Packers ultimately decided to stick it out with him, and he went on to play with them for many, many more years. He got out of that slump and made more big kicks for them. So, as it relates to this move, this is a wait and see for me in terms of how this one works out. Because if Spencer Schrader plays well and Matt Gay continues to do what it was that he was doing for the Indianapolis Colts, this is going to look like a great move for the Indianapolis Colts. But for some reason, my gut is telling me, and sometimes that's just an intuition, right? Every now and then you're going to go off the facts in front of you, and every now and then you're going to be biased towards your intuition. When we're speculating with something like this as to how this move is going to play out, I'm going to roll with my intuition. I have a feeling this will not be the last time we say the name Matt Gay, or the last time we think about the name Matt Gay as Colts fans. You do just wonder if he's able to regain the form that he had with the Los Angeles Rams, and Spencer Schrader is not our kicker. Will we look back at this and say, damn, wish we would have stuck it out with him a little bit? I don't know. And I mean, not for anything. Did you need the money for something? I don't know. For me, it's, how do you feel about this move? Because for me, I don't know. I'll say it 5 more times. I don't know. 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 6 times. All right, on to draft talk. Because right now, I have no clue what it is that the Indianapolis Colts are going to do with that 14th overall pick. Like, the more I look at this one, the more I feel like a trade back from 14 is a relatively likely scenario. Not predicting that it will happen. I'm just saying that there's a decent chance it could. I mean, because if you ask me right now, none of the tight ends on the board, at least in terms of guys that could be drafted in the first round, outside of Tyler Warren, is worth that pick. And I'll tell you what, if Tyler Warren is there, I've come around. You take Tyler Warren with that pick. He is a stud. One of the things you'll notice when you watch a Tyler Warren is the fact that, yes, of course, very, very productive, but a lot of his productivity was kind of a product of his versatility. And the big question I had early in my watching his tape was, okay, fine, we know he produced at the college level in that versatility, but all the things they asked him to do in college, can he do all those at the NFL level? But the more I watched him, I said, not for anything. This guy with the ball in his hands is a real unit. And not only is he able to make every catch that you could possibly want a guy to make, but there's an explosion to him when he's running with the ball. He's a guy that's a very willing and able blocker. And I think just overall, I mean, I think that's potentially a game changer at the tight end position. Again, Warren, in my opinion, a stud. Okay. But Colston Loveland at the 14th overall pick, that just does not sit right with me from what I've seen out of him. I mean, it's not that I don't think he can play. I think he's pretty solid. But is there any one game, and maybe I'm missing it, maybe you could direct me to it. Is there any one game of Colston Loveland that you can look at and say, yep, that's a game changer right there? That's a guy that is absolutely someone that has the potential for defenses to have to plan around. I don't see that, particularly early on. And I've just seen far more compelling tight end prospects than a Colston Loveland come in and struggle to make an early impact in the NFL. Right now, you have teams in the Steelers, the Giants, if they don't draft a quarterback at number 3 overall, and a guy like Shedeur Sanders, who some think that maybe he slips. I don't know if that's kind of smoke and mirrors. Very hard to know before the draft. But I don't know. Again, if you have a team like the Steelers, for example, that likes him quite a bit, and Shedeur Sanders is there at the number 14 overall pick, or maybe someone has a high grade on a Jackson Dart, it just seems like if the Colts are looking and there's no Tyler Warren there, what do they need at that point? Like, okay, you need the tight end, yes, but if they agree with me and say Colston Loveland not worth this pick, well, okay, is there anyone at that pick at a position of need that you couldn't just get in the 20s in terms of the 23rd, 24th, 25th pick in the draft? Like, if Warren is there, again, okay, go ahead, take him. But if he's not, linebackers, offensive, defensive line, like maybe again, as I was saying, as I was alluding to with that Shedeur Sanders point and didn't quite finish, maybe someone wants to trade up for a quarterback. The Colts at 14 overall, kind of like prime position if a guy is to slip a little bit further. Because if the teams that need a quarterback make the decisions, right? And then a team like the Steelers is looking and saying, not for anything. The guy that we thought was the best one here is still on the board, or the guy that we thought was the second best one here is still on the board. They may look at a team like the Indianapolis Colts, okay? And we know right now the Indianapolis Colts, again, tight end, yes. Linebackers, offensive line, defensive line, like what exactly is it that this team is going to be looking for early in this draft? We know at the moment that 9 of their 15 confirmed top 30 visits are between offensive line, defensive line, and edge. So over half of those 15 guys that have come in are one of those 3 positions, okay? So you can't be surprised if the Colts go ahead and draft that position again. But if Warren is not there, which he will not be, most likely, I don't think he makes it past the New York Jets, to be 100% honest with you. What exactly is the plan with no Tyler Warren? I mean, Jahad Campbell has a super high RAS score, which we like. And when I say we, I mean the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts have prioritized the RAS score more than literally any other team in the league. When you go back to, I don't know, 2020, 2021, don't quote me on the exact year, but look it up. I promise you, I'm right. If they traded back, can they still end up with a Jahad Campbell? And then at that point, do you have another second rounder as a result of that trade up? Do you double up on linebacker? Like, okay, we know that they like Carson Schlesinger. we know that 4 of the past 5 years, the Colts have moved positions in the second round by some means, whether it's a trade up, a trade down, a double trade down, whatever it is, every year but 2021 did they make such a move, meaning that whatever we look at today as the Colts' second round draft position, it's very, very likely that that won't be where they draft in the second round come April 25th. Okay, so you wonder if they wanted to move up in the second round for, let's say, a Carson Schlesinger. Does trading back in the first round give them the collateral to trade up? I don't know. Like, there's a lot of moving parts, which is what makes draft talk so complicated, which is what makes mock drafts really kind of a waste of time, and essentially useless, if I'm to be 100% honest with you, at least as far as the Colts go, particularly when you're talking outside of the first round. Like, the likelihood is that the Colts keep their 14th overall pick and draft someone with that pick. But in terms of everything after that, the Colts are a team that just manipulate their draft far too often. So whatever picks we're looking at today and saying these are the Colts picks, those will not be the Colts picks by the time the draft is over. So if you ask me for my prediction today, let's wrap it all up. A week out from the draft, I think one of 3 scenarios plays out, or I guess one of 2 scenarios, okay? I think the Colts either trade back from the 14th overall pick or they draft someone with that 14th overall pick that we are not expecting them to draft, that most of us are not talking about them drafting, meaning not Colston Loveland and maybe not even Jihad Campbell with that 14th overall pick. Don't be shocked if and when the Colts go with an offensive, defensive lineman or an edge rusher with that 14th overall pick. The Colts defensive line, as it currently stands, aging, lacking depth, lacking guys on the edge that are locked in long term. Kwity Paye, Samson Ebukam both have expiring contracts. After the upcoming season, I can absolutely see the Colts getting someone on the edge that they like, that they don't want to rely on having to make a day one impact the same way they asked, let's say, a Laitu Latu to do. Now, those are my thoughts on the first round pick right now. I know I was kind of just throwing stuff around. I'm not even sure how cohesive that was. But if you were able to follow along, let me know where you're at. Because right now I'm looking and saying, your guess is as good as mine. And quite frankly, mock drafts, fucking useless. But until next time, my name is Justin. This right here is the Riding the Bench Colts podcast. And as always, go Colts.